Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today on this episode, we need to talk about how hot it is right now. The month of July is just brutal. I am sweating bullets. I'm really trying my best to stay in this little shade pocket underneath this overhanging tree. But the month of July is not necessarily the most comfortable month to go bass fishing. It's still a good month. You can catch a lot of fish, but things are definitely changing a little bit, and you start to notice that fantastic bite, especially offshore, that we saw in late May and all throughout June, really starts slowing down. And there's one big reason why that offshore bite starts to kind of disappear. There's actually a couple different reasons. One reason is because there's been a lot of fishing pressure on a lot of these lakes. From April to June, that's like perfect time for everybody to get out on the water and start catching fish. And so bass have been pressured so much that they really start, those bigger schools start kind of breaking up, and they're just tired of getting caught and sore mouthed all the time. But there's also another reason that on a lot of lakes is probably the biggest factor to whether or not you're going to have success on the water in the month of July. And that is dissolved oxygen content in these lakes. I'm on this lake right here, which is just north of Memphis. It's called Poplar Tree Lake. It's in the Meme Shelby State Park here. Really not a lot of water circulation. They're not pulling any current for any type of electricity or power generation. It's really just dependent on the amount of rain that they get, whether or not they pull current. And also, it's kind of protected. There's not a lot of wind during the month of July, and so there's not a lot of like wave action to really churn things up. So the oxygen content out deep just plummets. It just drops. And in fact, I can see the thermocline on my HGS, my Lowrance HGS Pros. I can actually see that line where it goes from suitable oxygen to very little oxygen. You can see that thermocline on your graph sometimes on some of these lakes. And so what happens in July, because the heat, the lack of rain that's flushing the system, and the lack of wind that helps churn things up, you have unsuitable habitat with very little oxygen out deep. And so a lot of fish start moving shallow. But again, a lot of people don't think about that. The fish have been so good offshore that they're kind of hung up on the deep bite. But this is a time period, during July and August, the hottest times of the year, when the wind is at its lowest and there's the least amount of rain. This is the time period where a lot of fish start moving shallow. So that's why one of my favorite things to look for during July and August is exactly what I'm hanging in right now, this little shade pocket underneath these overhanging trees. These are the perfect type of areas for these fish to escape the heat that they would otherwise be able to escape the heat, out deep. But because the oxygen is low, they have to move shallow, and they have to find whatever shade is available. So I guess the moral of the story for this video is that if you're having a hard time catching fish in the same areas you were catching them in June, start to look shallow. Look for areas that have grass, maybe start fishing some docks, or if you have a lot of overhanging tree limbs like we have on this lake, try those locations, because in a lot of cases around the country, some of these lakes just do not have good oxygen out deep, and this is where the fish end up coming to. So anyways, guys, just wanted to do kind of a PSA type video, just reminding you that if you're having a tough bite during the month of July, it's not necessarily you. It's not the techniques you're throwing. It may just be that those fish have completely left because of the oxygen content. So just keep that in mind. So anyways, guys, if you have any questions, drop a comment below. If you have any topics you want me to cover in a future video, also drop a comment below. Other than that, I'm going to see you out on the water. Trust the process.